Metric modulation is one of my favourite areas within music. I find it makes for some of the sickest grooves and fills, but it can be quite confusing. So in this video, I'm going to show you my personal method to composing a metric modulated section. I'm going to be doing it on Pro Tools today, so you have both audio and visual examples. But just before I jump into that, I want to be really clear on the definition of metric modulation. And that is to quite simply imply a feel, to give the impression of a feel that differs from the original tempo. The reason I say imply a feel is because we're not actually going to change the tempo. Everything remains under the same structure, so the rest of the band and the other musicians don't have to change what they're doing. But purely based off of what we do, we can make the listener nod their head at a completely different pace. It's a super powerful tool, it's super cool. I'm excited, let's just jump right in. You can see here I've got a guitar and a bass stem taken from my song 40 Roll. And then beneath that you can see I've got some inputted kick drums. Now these kick drums are following the rhythm exactly. In fact, have a quick listen to that now. So you can see there's not really much to latch onto at this point. And the main reason for that is because there's no cymbals or snare drums inputted. So what I'm going to do now is input a very basic groove. I'm going to put China cymbals on the quarter notes, and I'm going to put snare drums on beat 3 of every bar. So the most basic groove we really could be doing here. That sounds like this. Instantly nodding my head. That's actually perfect. That's the point I want to get across here. Cymbals and snare drums really do carry a lot of the feel, a lot of the pulse. So this song is at 95 BPM, as you can see here, which is very slow. And placing Chinas on the quarter notes and snares on the 3 is very much cementing that feel. But what I did when composing this song is I thought, it's actually too slow. I kind of want to pick the energy up, I want to create a new feel which is a bit more exciting. So I decided to do something called a dotted 8th note metric modulation. The reason this is called a dotted 8th met mod is because instead of having these China cymbals here every quarter note, we're going to change the subdivision to be every dotted 8th, every 3/16 notes. So I've just smashed a bunch of dotted 8th note Chinas in. Obviously there's no snares right now. This is where it gets interesting. If we kept the snares on the actual beat 3 of each bar, it wouldn't really imply the new feel. What we need to do is really trick the listener. And we're going to do that by copying what we had in the previous bar in terms of structure and replicate it here with the new structure. So here's one bar, you can see that there's 4 China cymbals per bar, and the snare drum lands on the 3rd China. We're going to copy that exactly over here. We're essentially taking the groove and squishing it all down. So the snare drums are going to be relative to these Chinas. We're going to count across 1, 2, 3. There's the 3rd China, so we're going to put a snare there. There's the 4th China, 1, 2, 3. That'll be the next snare drum. So even though these snares aren't landing on beat 3, that would be here, and that would be here, we're going to give the impression that they're landing on beat 3. That's how we really trick the listener. So I'll put a few more of these in here. Cool. Let's have a little listen to this. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how different this is. There it is. So again, we haven't touched the guitar, we haven't touched the bass, we haven't changed the rhythm at all. All we've changed is cymbals and snares, and we've shined a completely different light on this piece of music. We've made the listener nod their head at a completely different pace, yet it's still the original tempo. And that is it, that is metric modulation. Of course, this example I used dotted 8th notes, but this exact same method will apply for any kind of metric modulation that you want to do. For example, you could do dotted quarter notes if you wanted a slightly slower feel, which would look like that. And then the snares would just follow the exact same method. We've got 1, 2, 3. That'd be the first one. 4, 1, 2, 3. That'd be the next one. Or if you wanted to do something really weird, you could switch it up. You could go on a triplet grid. You could do a quarter note triplet met mod. That'd look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see my point. Any subdivision, any ostinato, anything that you can dream of can be a metric modulation. The only thing is, A lot of them will sound bad. Obviously, we're using this as a compositional tool, so just the same as any composition, you do a lot of trial and error. You try things in, you have a listen, if it doesn't sound good, you get rid of it. So you really have got to have a composer's head on your shoulders when doing this. So let's say you have found a metric modulation that works, you really like it, you've done some trial and error, and you want to keep it. It's time to learn it. But the thing is, this is quite hard to play against a click. I'm going to show you now, going from the original feel into the metric modulated section with a regular quarter note click. Have a listen to this. You can tell it's all relative, you can tell it's the same tempo, but that's pretty hard to follow. And a lot of drummers really struggle to perform metric modulation live for that reason. They feel like they're fighting against the click. And although it's a great skill to have, especially if you want to improvise with metric modulation, it's not necessary when you compose with metric modulation. The reason for this is because everything is already planned. So we could actually plan our clicks to move with us. So what I do is I pull up printed audio for a click. So here I've got not a plugin, I've actually got printed audio, and I'm able to chop and change it. So I'm going to take an accent and a non-accent, and I'm going to have it follow the metric modulation with me, which I believe would be there. Have a listen to how much easier this is to follow. It is so much easier to follow like that. And a lot of people have said to me in the past, is that not cheating though? But in what world is this cheating? A click track literally has one job. It is a tool designed to help us perform our most accurate performance. You still have to play the part. You're not cheating in any way. You're just making your life a lot easier by utilizing this tool. And that is essentially metric modulation in a nutshell. You don't have to do this for an entire groove. You can do it for just a fill. If you wanted, you could have the entire band accent certain subdivisions with you to really imply the feel. I've done that with Oceans before. I've had guitar, bass, and vocals accent different subdivisions. So it almost feels like we have changed tempo, but then we keep leads from earlier that are in the original feel, and makes for some super cool stuff. I did this in the song Covert. I did this a lot in the song New Dawn. We go through several different modulations, and I have the whole band imply the feel every time. But both of those songs are just one tempo. I believe Covert is 140 BPM for the whole song, and from memory New Dawn is 180 BPM for the whole song. So there is a lot of really cool applications for metric modulation, but no matter what I'm doing, I apply this method. I move the subdivision of the cymbal, I have the snares be relative to really imply the new feel. I use my ears, I trial and error, I wait until something sounds good, and when I do land on something, the first thing I do is have the click track follow along so that everyone knows what's going on. I really hope that you guys feel confident enough to use this in your own compositions now, and I really hope that you feel confident enough to perform them with my little inside trick of pre-programming the click tracks to follow. I am going to be doing more theory lessons soon, so make sure you stick around for those. But until then, peace and love, guys.